VISTEG USA. My teammates and I are researchers at Arizona State University in Tempe, Arizona.
This is a former graduate student of
make
mine.
Buildings better.
And I'm actually not sure if I'm
Fossil
supposed
still
to
account
wait
for
for the video to
80% of the
finish, but I'll let you
energy
enjoy
in
it.
the world. And the ironic part about this is all the energy that the infrastructure of the world needs is shining down on it in any particular day. So our technology actually uses the sun's heat instead of the sun's light. So we use thermoelectric generation to produce power. By installing our technology on buildings in Adelaide, we'll be able to help them reach carbon neutrality because there's going to be an increase in high-rise residential and commercial buildings in Adelaide, and this presents a really cool opportunity to integrate new renewable energy tech into those buildings being created to reach this goal of getting to 100% renewable energy.
That's Caitlin Vortherms. She's a civil engineer. She's back in Phoenix, Arizona. She completed her master's degree in May on empathy in engineering. How does design relate to the way that people feel? And that's a great introduction that she did. It was because she entered us into this competition that we're now finalists in the competition. The company, VISTEG, I founded 2 years ago to take on a problem that a few people care quite a bit about, but nobody has good solutions for. And it's larger than Caitlin and I. It also includes my son Payson, who's in the front row, and Margaret Hinrichs, who just finished her doctorate in organizational communication at Arizona State. The problem is net zero buildings. The idea here is that we want the buildings to generate just as much energy as they consume, and that's a good first step towards carbon neutrality. But the difficulty with that design is that buildings don't have the technological suite of options available to them to generate the power that they currently use. So to do net zero right now looks something like this. This is the first net zero public school in the United States. It's in Staten Island in New York City. And to get to net zero, you got to cover what looks like a bomb shelter with a massive photovoltaic canopy. And that's just to capture enough sun to generate electricity to use inside the building. But even the canopy isn't enough. When you go around behind the building, you find that there's more photovoltaic panels. These are stacked vertically now. And because the photovoltaics only come in certain shapes and only come in certain colors, the architects don't have the kind of aesthetic options that they'd like to have to allow them to put photovoltaics on the face of the building. They either have to put them on the roof or hide them in the back. We call that solar ugly. So when we became a finalist, we started looking around at buildings in Adelaide. And one of the first things that we found was the Mall's Balls. We said, well, here's a city that's got some guts, you know, they can do some public art. They're not afraid to do something a little bit different. But in the Rundle Mall, outside or around the Mall's Balls, we see no solar. So there's these big facades and just blank brick or masonry cement walls on which the sun is shining, and the building actually has to use additional electricity to cool the load that shines on the building's face. What we want to do is we want to take that heat, not the light, but the heat that the sun is shining on the building, and we want to create a bunch of different aesthetic options. So we can use, there are now 8 primary colors that we have, and we can mix them up to give the architects a new way to imagine what the building is going to look like. So we started to imagine that, and we saw it something like this. So let me tell you a little bit more about thermoelectric generation. This is the technology that we're using to capture the heat of the sun rather than the light of the sun. This is a report from the US Department of Energy, and they're assessing the technology, which I think is great. I think it's going to be a big market. This is another private market report that says in about 10 years, it's worth $1 billion. That's not our market, because billion-dollar markets come with billion-dollar competition. And we can't compete with the enormous companies like Siemens or like General Electric. We're looking for the niche market, the small market that we can dominate. And we believe Peter Thiel, who says that all clean technologies have started as fashion statements. So where could we find examples of this fashion statement approach to teaching people about the clean technologies? And the answer is still in the Rundle Mall. This is the Rundle Lantern, which is powered by LEDs, and it's lit by LEDs and powered by photovoltaic panels that are on the roof. And it's a way of getting people talking about clean technologies and renewable energy, especially the way that they're integrated into buildings. And it turns out it's not that unusual. There's a long history in the Industrial Revolution. If the internet is to be believed, this is the debut of the television by the Radio Corporation of America in 1939. And the people who came through the World's Fair to see the television said, why would I need a TV? There's no such thing as a TV station. By 1950, of course, everybody needed a TV. This is the same approach that we want to take for the thermoelectric generation. The Rundle Lantern has its numbers about zero carbon emissions. We also have a zero carbon emission electricity source that we want to build right into the buildings, and it's not economical right now. This is why we have to start as a fashion statement. This is why it's a beautification upgrade. It's about as economical as solar photovoltaic was 10 years ago. We want to be ready to dominate a larger market when that larger market is ready. I wanted to let you know that we've addressed the review criteria, although in our written proposal, this is for the judges, we didn't call it out explicitly. We just filed our first patent while we're here on Tuesday of this week. Our first provisional patent application was filed in the United States. So we want to let you know that we're covering the innovation end, and we've been walking around Adelaide looking for good candidates on which we could place the technology. It turns out there's no shortage. Yesterday and today, we met with Michael Hegarty at GHD Woodhead. It turns out that this architectural firm here in Adelaide also cares about net zero buildings. And they gave us this book with their conceptual drawings. We want to work with them to create a local trial of the thermoelectric generation technology that might go right here on the North Terrace. That's what we would do with the award. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Clinton Burchett. I'm from Townsville, Queensland, and we build drone delivery systems. My idea is a mailbox for a drone. Our system enables drone deliveries to your house, apartment or high-rise building without the need for a large clear area for the drone to land. Using GPS and computer vision, we can see a net that is attached to your house and be able to deliver to that net with near millimetre accuracy. The GPS guides the drone to the approximate location of the net, and from there, the computer vision will take over and guide the drone to complete the delivery. Drones have two advantages. They can fly line of sight from point A to point B without needing to stop start in traffic. And two, they run on batteries which can be recharged from renewable sources. Winning the prize will speed up the introduction of drones in our society and in turn reduce our carbon emissions. Thank you.
Don't you hate the sound of your own voice? So modern society is held together by transportation. How do we get this to carbon zero? As you saw, my name's Clinton and I'm from Townsville. I've been in the Royal Australian Air Force for the last 16 years. And in the Air Force, we know that getting the right thing at the right place at the right time is critical. I'll be telling you how we do that with Black Tattoo. 70%. Many of you may not know that up to 70% of the cost of getting something from point A to point B can be attributed to what is known as the last mile. This is what, for this reason, it's called the last mile delivery problem. It's expensive because someone has to physically deliver your package to you. This is an expensive problem that needs a solution. So what is the solution? Drones, you probably guessed. There's no reason why a drone cannot carry items to people, automating the delivery and bringing down that percentage. The advantages of the logistics drones are well known. They are fast. They travel in straight lines across city, not needing to follow roads, obey traffic laws or speed limits. They are cheap to operate, around 5 cents per kilometre. Not least of all, they are battery operated, which means they can be recharged by renewable sources. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Well, Amazon and Google think so, because they're pouring large amounts of money into their own drone solutions. And I personally can't wait to be able to order a pizza from my phone on the couch and have it delivered to me now. I'm not the only one. This graph shows the number of Americans per square mile that are willing to pay for same-day delivery. So great, problem solved. Drones will bring me things, there will be less trucks on the road, the air will be cleaner, and I'll get the things that I want faster and cheaper. Here's the catch. Drones cannot deliver to me if I live and work in a place like this. As you probably know, this is Adelaide. Current affordable GPS is only accurate to plus or minus 5 metres. I'll say that again, plus or minus 5 metres. This means that you need an area 10 by 10 metres in order to receive a drone delivery. You might, as you can see, there's not many areas like that in this picture. So you might say, fine, deliver it to the roof. But as you can see, the roof often are pitched and with antennas that can get in the way. This is where our solution comes in. In the not too distant future, I'll just read it out. In the not-too-distant future, a drone will fly across the city to your home. Using computer vision, the drone will peer down and look for the delivery net. The correct net will be confirmed with the barcode. The drone will then align itself with the catching net and safely and securely deliver your package. Without this solution, your delivery will just be dropped on the ground. What if you're not there when the delivery is made? Is the package just left in the yard? What if you have pets or small children that could come into contact with spinning rotor blades? It can be quite dangerous. We have developed the tech to make it safe and secure. It's safe because the drone is kept at a safe distance from the delivery point, and secure because it's dropped into your house or a lockable container. Since developing this solution, we have looked further into the future. Our vision is not limited to a catching net placed on the side of your house. We want to automate the entire last mile, from pickup to drop-off, by building on our current tech and introducing the drone loading box. These boxes can be located just like a mailbox or at a business like a pharmacy. A package is placed into the loading box, an address is entered. A passing drone is signalled and comes down to collect the package. The drone, using computer vision, aligns itself with the indicators on the box and is loaded. The drone then moves using conventional GPS across the city. Once at its destination, it signals the catching net to extend out ready to receive the package. Inside, you collect your precious delivery, safe and secure. I'll now leave you with more visions of the future. With Black Tattoo, we hope to be able to drop truck emissions radically, reduce logistics companies' costs and speed up the delivery process, giving people same-day delivery or even same-hour delivery that we all want. We invite you to come along and share our vision of the future. Thank you. If I got one more minute, I just want to say that we entered the Drones for Good competition in Dubai, and we came fourth in the world, beating out teams from MIT and Singapore University. I've since been to Google headquarters in London and given a talk there on how drone deliveries can change cities. Thank you.
My name is Michael Smythe and I'm with Clement Vehicles. I'm an engineer with 20 years experience in design of special purpose vehicles, and I'm turning my attention to designing electric vehicles for the Australian market. Clement Vehicles will use South Australia's experience in special purpose vehicle design combined with our abilities in advanced manufacturing to come up with a design which is very easy to manufacture but also very high quality. South Australia has around 1.3 million registered vehicles, so the aim of Clement is to help us replace only 5% of those vehicles with full electric vehicles that are charged using wind and solar power. Just 5% will be enough for us to abate 100% of the transport emissions of the city of Adelaide. Winning would mean the world to me, because if Adelaide was a city that launched a truly viable alternative to the internal combustion engine vehicle, it would change the world as we know it.
As we saw, Clement's an Adelaide-based business, like this one. We're aiming to design innovative zero-emission vehicles. But to be carbon neutral, Adelaide must reduce its CO2 emissions by 329,000 tonnes per annum, which is caused by 67,000 petrol and diesel vehicles. But how do we do this when Australia's transport emissions are actually trending up? By 2030, we need to achieve a 28% reduction in Australia's transport emissions. Overseas, transport emissions are going down because overseas buyers have access to a wider range of very efficient vehicles, hybrids and electric vehicles, and many of those are currently not available in Australia. Clement Vehicles will provide choice for Australians. And as an example, we've heard a lot about the Chevy Bolt designed in Melbourne. Unfortunately, that's only made in left-hand drive, so as it stands, that vehicle will never be seen in Australia. In the future, cars will still be part of our transport mix, along with our wonderful expanded tram network that I'm really looking forward to. Changing over to electric cars will reduce our emissions quickly and cheaply. EVs also provide benefits, much lower running costs. They have no tailpipe emissions and no pollution. They provide energy security because in an emergency, an EV's battery can power your house for around a week. And it'll reduce our dependence on foreign oil. Clement's designing a vehicle that suits early adopters, exciting vehicles, so that we can begin our journey towards mass adoption of electric vehicles. Clement, as we saw, will use advanced manufacturing and a modular chassis, so we can produce cars without high tooling costs that are still very high quality without needing to be a very high price. We also have a very innovative retail model. No one likes the new car dealer experience with the ivory teeth, the slick hair and the spray tan. And they don't like the lack of options available on modern cars. A Clement shop will be more like visiting our favourite retailers. Choose the body style you like. Trim the interior with fabric of your choice. Choose from a vast array of colours from the Dulux colour wheel. Accessorise with your choice of entertainment system. The thing about an electric car is they are so simple to build that we can even deliver it to you at home to assemble yourself, along with tools and instructions. And in the early adopter market, about 1/3 of the market actually prefers that purchase model. Or you can simply choose our easy assembly option and you can get a personalised car delivered to your driveway. Clement will design its first car with a very low budget. There is a reason for this. We've studied which car companies have been successful, and it showed some interesting examples. Toyota started as a loom maker. After World War II, the Toyota Motor Company started with virtually no budget. Colin Chapman built Lotus Engineering with a £50 loan from his girlfriend. Koenigsegg, very famous sports car maker, was started by a 22-year-old who just loved cars. Bolwell Cars was iconic in Australia in the 70s. It was started by a 16-year-old and his cousin. That company is still running today in Melbourne. Zero Electric Motorcycles, the world's biggest and most profitable electric bike maker, was started by a NASA engineer in a 2-car garage. History shows time and time again that humble beginnings are the best foundation for automotive success. So the Clement solution ticks all the boxes. If you think Australia should be manufacturing high quality, innovative electric vehicles, please support my proposal. Thank you.
Our idea is to create affordable zero carbon apartments in the heart of Adelaide. We've already had great success in this area with the development of the Zero Carbon Challenge House and over 200 low carbon apartments and townhouses here on the fringe of the city.
We're designing one of Adelaide's most desirable apartment buildings. It's with fully integrated clean tech and also vegetated roofs and walls, and all of that backed by a comprehensive and proven financial model.
The first zero carbon apartment will greenlight urban construction projects and create jobs for South Australians. More importantly, we'll establish a carbon neutral approach for our increasingly urban society, bringing cities to the forefront of climate action.
Look, if I knew they were going to play that, I'd have worn a different outfit. What can I say? I've got more than one suit, they're not all navy. I like the shirt, it's my favourite shirt. So look, the city's population growth is accelerating. The new Adelaideans are living in apartments. In just the next 2 years, more than 3,400 apartments are in the pipeline. It's an incredible number, doubling Adelaide's residential carbon footprint. So how can we fix that problem? Zero carbon apartments, apartments with no carbon footprint. That's the answer. Our idea is to create Australia's first zero carbon apartments right in the heart of Adelaide. Zero carbon apartments will greenlight urban construction projects and create jobs for South Australians. More importantly, our idea will establish an affordable, carbon neutral approach for our increasingly urban society, bringing Adelaide to the forefront of climate action and not just climate policy. For the prize money we've pitched for, the first development of 40 apartments will trigger over $10 million of private capital investment into the city, create 60 construction jobs, and deliver a significant, measurable, lifelong reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. So we come up with 5 reasons why the judges might choose this idea. There were many more in the business plan, but these are our top 5. This is not a prototype. This is not a proof of concept or a pilot. We do have the answer. We've got it fixed. We've got it figured out. This is a real project. It makes a big and immediate carbon impact with a certified outcome. So you don't just have to believe us. It will be certified at the end of construction and in operation. The results can be proven. It will be designed by South Australians, built by South Australians, and will use South Australian clean technology. It will also provide a showcase for many of the other finalists here today, and it's been a great pleasure to talk to some of them during the week. As a building, it can be a home to many of the other finalist technologies that we're going to hear from this afternoon. They also can be part of the first zero carbon apartment building. We're the wildcard finalists. We're the people's choice. Everyone is telling us they want this to happen, including all the primary and high school students that came through our exhibition stand, which was a joy. Everyone's telling us they want this to happen. Let's try and make this a reality. Thank you.
My name's Daniels Langenberg. I'm the founder of EcoCaddy, and my idea is EcoCart, which is essentially a bolt-on to the passenger service. So we will be a carbon neutral delivery service, which enables businesses within the CBD and North Adelaide to be able to sell and deliver their goods at zero emissions. The piece of software will connect supply with demand. Customers will order through businesses, and those businesses will then pass on that request to us, and there'll be a carbon calculator in there so that the business and the end customer will be able to see how many carbon emissions they're saving by using our service as opposed to another petrol powered service. Winning would mean a huge step in the right direction, the direction that EcoCaddy wants to be heading, which is being a certified sustainable business and giving us the means to be able to scale in a sustainable way.
Hi guys, that was me 3 months ago. I was a lot younger then, I had a lot more hair. This competition's definitely taken its toll on all of us. No, it's great to be here. I'm going to take you on a little journey about me, about EcoCaddy and EcoCart. So like you, I love Adelaide. I wasn't born here, but my parents are from Africa. And my mother's from Africa, and my father's from Sweden. From my African roots, what I realised is that mobility can change a way of the people. From my Swedish roots, what I found was that design can change the mindset of an entire nation. More recently, I moved to China. There I was designing green cities and riding track bikes with some pretty cool people. What I found out there was that transport is integral to a city, and it forms the backbone of a city. Roads are the things that can shape a city. The lifeblood of the city is what moves and how we move down the roads. Adelaide has a great backbone, but right now, just like most major cities, it's being choked. And what we're out to do is we're out to solve these problems. So transport is one of the biggest emitters of carbon emissions in the city at 47%. So I took these learnings about mobility, about design, and about cities, and what I did was I founded a company, EcoCaddy, which is out to solve transport problems. And we do it in a way that we can move more with less. And at a comparable speed to most inner-city transit. We've moved more than 12,000 people in the city so far. That's about the population of North Adelaide. And we've already saved 1.7 tonnes of carbon emissions. That's 566 puppies. As an entrepreneur, you're always out there trying to see how you can improve things. And this is my office, and through this office window, I can see a lot all the time. What I noticed is white vans. They're seemingly everywhere. They're there basically to respond to a growing demand in online orders and online shopping. And there's more cars polluting, and they're doing less. So we ask ourselves, how can we do more with less? Simple. By utilising an asset we already have. The Adelaide to Zero competition has allowed us to crystallise these thoughts, and this is what I want to present to you guys today. EcoCart, your carbon neutral delivery partner. We've found our focus and we understand what our niche is. We've done a lot of testing in the last 3 months with some great vendors, and we've delivered almost 80 deliveries to some great local businesses. And we've done this all at zero emissions. We don't really have time to compare, Adelaide. What we've learned is that our vendors, they care about human interaction, they care about price. We're damn good at deliveries, and businesses care about timeliness, they care about the payment system, and they care about a simple booking system. And we also found that we're pretty fast and efficient compared to our competition. We did some tweaking. We made a collapsible box, which can be rapidly deployed onto our back seat and increase our payload by more than double. But we want to take this thing further. What we want to do is design the most advanced tricycle of its type anywhere in the world and manufacture it here in Adelaide. This will also give our companies, our like-minded companies, the ability to be seen by more businesses around Adelaide. We can reduce emissions, and we've modelled this. We can reduce them by 3 tonnes every year, and we've extrapolated that so we'll be travelling 55,000 kilometres over 3 years and saving 12.6 tonnes in 3 years' time. As we scale, we'll create more jobs. We'll move into other Australian cities, and we also want to move abroad. How it works is simple. You can log on to our website right now, choose our subscription plan, the one that suits you, and sign up. You can place your order through our online booking system, and this can be done in a matter of moments. You can also choose from our like-minded partners and track your orders in real time and see how many CO2 emissions you've saved. I'll just skip ahead. So we're ready to roll, Adelaide. We're ready, we've got businesses signed up, and we know that we can reduce CO2 emissions. With your help, the Adelaide to Zero judges, we can help EcoCart scale. And that means that we'll be reducing more CO2 emissions in Adelaide, in the world, and hopefully we'll see more puppies. Cheers.
My name's Colin Stuckley, and I'm the Managing Director of an Australian technology company called Enercon. We want to build large energy systems in Adelaide that will operate on carbon neutral fuel instead of CO2 emitting fossil fuels. We'll install turbines to generate electricity. We can capture the waste heat from those turbines and use it to heat buildings in cold weather or to drive air conditioners in hot weather. This overall process is called trigeneration, and it's already widely used around the world, but with fossil fuels for energy. Our systems will use a carbon neutral fuel called pyrolysis oil. With these systems we can achieve major greenhouse gas reductions. Our first system alone could provide more than 50,000 tonnes of CO2 reduction in Adelaide every year. Winning the Low Carbon Entrepreneurs Award would be an incredible boost for our work. It'd be great publicity for the project, and it'd provide a real focus for our team and for our local and international partners. I'll tell you what, people, the only thing worse than doing them is having to watch them again. So I'm sorry about that. But at least I've got a different shirt on, which is good. I'm a chemical engineer, so the first thing I want to show you is not a chemical plant. But I do want to show you our product, which is called pyrolysis oil. And I'll talk to you for a few minutes about how we can take this renewable fuel, make it here with wood wastes, and then help make Adelaide carbon neutral. Let's start at the very beginning. What are wood wastes? Well, if we're in Adelaide, we're talking broken pallets or construction waste, pine trees down in the Green Triangle, crop residues. All of these will go into our process and make biofuel. The old carbon neutral cycle. We're not wind, we're not solar, but we're still renewable. That's because when we burn our fuel, we release CO2, but when our feedstock grows, it captures CO2. And for that reason, we're just as compliant under federal legislation as wind and solar, so we're eligible for renewable energy certificates. And here's my favourite photo, the plant. I'm a chemical engineer, you can't stop me. We're working with a company out of Holland called BTG, and they've spent many years and many tens of millions of dollars building this technology up to this commercial scale. What we want to do is take this sort of plant, build it here and operate it here with all the attendant jobs both in construction and operation. If we take our low-cost feeds, our renewable energy certificates and the economy of scale we get with that great big boring plant, we've got a position where we're competitive with natural gas. But unlike natural gas, which I might point out is the most commonly used fuel in this state, we're carbon neutral. And natural gas is a great fuel, but it can never be carbon neutral. Let's turn our attention to Adelaide then. I think everybody should win today because we've all got to get together and try and bring this total of 900,000 tonnes a year down. We want to do it with another boring engineering word called trigeneration. And so I'll do what engineers do, I'll count on my fingers. If I run a turbine or an engine, I make power. If I capture the waste heat, I get cogeneration. If I use the waste heat to run absorption chillers, I get trigeneration. That's why we're engineers, we're good with our fingers. And we've got a couple of different ways of capturing trigeneration, which I should point out is already used in Adelaide and around the world, but with natural gas as fuel. We want to start using our carbon neutral fuel instead of natural gas. And we're talking with University of Adelaide about putting an engine like this into one of the buildings in North Terrace campus. We can turn that building carbon neutral. That's great because if we do it in one building, everybody else in the city can have a look at it and decide if they want to do it too. But we want to go further than that. If I'm in Europe, I'm used to district heating where I reticulate hot water. And I can take you to Queensland and show you where they reticulate chilled water around campuses. In fact, Brisbane City Council's looking at moving chilled water right around the city to be energy efficient. We can do the same thing here, but we can do it with renewable fuel as our driver. Our target, because of the scale of Adelaide, and this is a long-term target with a lot of engagement with customers, I might point out, would be 3 pyrolysis oil plants plus turbines and engines. I've been really heartened this week by the enthusiasm and the collaboration. I mean, that's a great word, collaboration, that is shown by the city and the state government. And if we can tap into that and start to engage with customers, we believe we can bring down the emissions in Adelaide by 150,000 tonnes a year. That's 3 of those plants. Now, even if we bring only 1 plant into action in the coming years, it's still 50,000 tonnes less carbon that's going into the atmosphere. So with that, I thank you very much.
I'm Frank Will, founder of Innovate. 1.3 million people die every year on the roads, many of them on motorbikes. I was almost one of them. That inspired me to make bikes much safer. Therefore I invented the Safe 8 balance control. As leaning car will be made in many different versions, Australia has a chance to become the world's center for development and manufacturing of leaning cars. But more importantly, many lives can be saved by making motorbikes safer and avoiding many hazardous emissions. After mass production of cars in Australia finishes next year, retrenched workers can find better jobs by making the leaning car instead. Therefore, they can continue using their experience that they've developed over many years.
So who likes to have fun? Yeah, I like to. Unfortunately, there's about 13,000 people who don't have too much to laugh at the end of next year when the Holden plant shuts down. This is the number of people that have been lost their job, according to a study from the University of Adelaide. So on the other side, if you look at companies like Tesla, within 10 years, they created about as many jobs as we have unemployment here in South Australia. So wouldn't that be great if we could get rid of all this unemployment? Don't we hate all traffic jams, get stuck in that? there wasn't just recently an unprecedented traffic jam here in Adelaide. Now, if you look at the Tesla example again, the main reason why Tesla sells so many of their cars in America is because if you've got a Tesla, you can use the bus lane and you've got preferred parking right in front of the shopping center. I was just told that by a friend of mine because he bought one to his wife, so she could enjoy that, not getting wet when she goes to the shopping mall. Now, for people that can't afford a Tesla, like myself, and probably most of you as well, I think, there's other solutions. So we tend to use alternatives like bikes, but obviously they are more safe. And not only I had a few near-death experiences, a neighbor of mine, he got his head chopped off when he hit a rail post. So this is a serious issue. Then you look at electric cars again. They are very heavy and they have a lot of torque, which you think is great that they have a lot of torque, but that's very similar to diesel trucks. So what's the result? They produce a lot of particles from their tire wear. And actually the particles from their tire wear is more in mass than it comes out of a clean modern diesel car. There was a German mechanical engineer named Carl Benz, and he invented the car as we know it nowadays, with a gasoline engine. Looks a bit different. The main reason why he invented it was he wanted to get faster from A to B and also travel longer distances without staying overnight or feeding the horses. And the other positive effect of that was that he cleaned all the cities from the horse manure. Now, what's our vision for the future of mobility? The future of mobility, as we see it, is a complete new generation of leaning vehicles. Narrow as a motorbike, and therefore also leaning like a motorbike, but it's long enough that you get up to 4 people in it in a row. That has a number of benefits. It saves lives because it's got a patented low-cost balance control system, so it doesn't tip over, and it's encapsulated with a body similar as a real car. So it saves you in a rollover situation or side crash with crumble zones, and it's got airbags, same. So it's meeting all the safety standards of a typical car. It also saves energy because of small cross-surface area. It's very aerodynamic, not like a smart car, which is shorter, so it's got an aerodynamic of a letterbox, even though it's only carrying 2 seats, and where ours can carry up to 4 seats. And it's very light. On the other hand, for the propulsion, it's using a triple hybrid propulsion with electricity for fast acceleration and metal powder, which is rocket fuel with a very high energy density for a very high speed, and normal fuel for longer ranges of up to 10 hours. And if there's a blackout, you can also use it as a generator to produce electricity for unlimited time. You just got to top it up with normal petrol. Now you save time and money. That's clear because easy to park and faster to travel. But you have fun because it's leaning. And it's also saving the environment. Isn't that great? Similar like the Benz car did, which was called Mercedes, the name of his wife. Because we can burn this magnesium powder with CO2. And the result is magnesium plus CO2, as you see in the equation. The result is carbon, which you can use to make carbon fiber or maybe even diamonds. Who doesn't like diamonds? And magnesium oxide. And then you recirculate this magnesium oxide with renewable energy. And you get magnesium powder again, which you fire. So you don't have any CO2 production in that process. Why here in Adelaide? Because Australia has the 4th largest magnesium reserves, and most of that is in Adelaide. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sean Burke. I'm an Adelaide local and the lead developer at My Carpools. We make carpooling software for organisations. Our idea is to implement school-based carpooling across South Australia, eventually the rest of Australia and beyond. It's a simple web-based system that allows families to join up and find other families and create their own informal networks. They can choose to share a ride every now and again and reduce their carbon footprint a little. To begin with, there'd be less cars transporting students to school, especially during peak hour. This would significantly reduce the congestion and greatly reduce everyone's emissions. Winning would enable us to build the network of schools committed to the idea and refine the service before taking it to a broader national and international market.
Well, hello. Clearly, I've had a bit of a makeover since I did that video. Actually, I'm Michael McCann. Sean's the smart one. He lives here, does the software. I'm his partner from Perth. He's over there. So look, we think schools are a great place to start creating positive social change. If you can create positive social change with something that makes the lives of parents and teachers easier, and that something becomes part of the way we do things around here, then you immediately transmit that change behaviour to the next generation. And schools want to become part of positive social change. So, as you heard Sean say, we want to slash school gate congestion. We want to take traffic away from schools. And while we're doing it, we want to give parents a new means of finding each other, of meeting and collaborating. And that's what we call Adiki. So we all know what the problem is. This is an everyday problem for everyday people. We all deal with this problem. Traffic creates a lot of emissions. Congestion causes that traffic to create more emissions. Traffic going to schools contributes to congestion. Surprisingly, you only have to take a very few vehicles off the road at peak hour when traffic networks are at peak capacity to dramatically improve traffic flow, and that quickly aggregates into significant emissions savings. But why are the streets outside our schools more commonly filled with cars than they are with children walking to school? Well, in the 1980s, only about 20% of children were driven to school. Today, that position is completely reversed, with in some cities more than 80% of children routinely driven to school. A 2013 ABS survey of Adelaide found that nearly 55% of school children were routinely driven to and from school. And surprisingly, even families within 1 kilometre or less of the school, a significant proportion were still driving. And why would we know anything about that? Because My Carpools, built on South Australian software, has actually been providing carpooling systems to governments, communities, organisations and universities, for instance, for the last 10 years. This is not about enabling transactions. We're not about providing taxi services. What we've been working on is developing effective, secure, free, destination-focused carpooling systems for communities. In this case, the communities have been universities. And what have we learned in 10 years? Well, sharing, real sharing, the sharing of resources, for instance, filling an empty seat and sharing a ride, sharing happens most readily, most frequently, and most repeatedly in the context of some other social connection, some real social network, some real social function with a shared destination, like a cricket game or a school. Real sharing is not a transaction, but sharing can be facilitated with technology through discovery. Discovery of common interests, common networks, discovery of common destinations, and proximity awareness and ease of communication. And that's what Adiki does. Back one. Adiki facilitates discovery in your school communities. And in doing so, it creates opportunities for sharing. Adiki is a user-generated, searchable, mapped class list on your phone. It makes visible to you your school community. It shows you the groups, not just your class, but all the groups in your school, groups you might not normally be in contact with through the school as you normally interact with your school now. Sports groups, music groups, parents groups, groups you might want to create inside the trusted community already of that shared destination called a school. So, and in that visibility, by mapping those groups for you, your whole community of that school becomes visible where they live in the streets and suburbs around you. Adiki accelerates the process of forming social networks at school. It's not disruptive, it's actually inclusive. Adiki is about building sharing communities, not the shared economy. Every empty seat that shows up at a school gate in the morning is a missed opportunity to share. Every empty seat that shows up at a school gate in the morning is possibly a missed opportunity to help someone, and every empty seat that shows up at a school gate in the morning is a missed opportunity to take a car off the road that day. So we're ready to do a trial in Adelaide schools in January 2017, and schools are coming to us now to participate in that trial. In 2018, we could be in the largest 400 schools in South Australia. In 2019, we could be in the largest 4,000 schools in Australia, with more smart people like Sean making code in Adelaide. Sharing is a natural part of school life. If we could take 1 trip in 5 away from school gates, that would make a significant contribution to emissions reduction. With a D-Key, building sharing communities, we want to make sharing part of how you get to school. Thank you. Sorry for running over.
Hi, my name is Peter Wadowitz. I'm the Managing Director of Peat Soils and Garden Supplies. We do about 150,000 tonne of organic waste, including grease trap fats. My idea is to take that grease trap fats, which are really smelly, dirty fats, and clean those fats and turn it into a biodiesel. The way we do that is by separating the fats from the dirty water, adding some proprietary product and ethanol, and from that we make biodiesel. Biodiesel will reduce about 70 to 90% of the CO2 going to atmosphere compared with normal diesel. So if we're successful in winning this, what we want to do is develop this not only for the local market, interstate, but there's a big opportunity for export.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Biodiesel from waste. Sounds like a good idea, doesn't it? Well, we thought so too. Basically, we started this recycling journey because we're commercial environmentalists. Basically, practical innovation, that's in our culture. Peats have been composting for over 45 years. We've also been recycling grease trap waste for over 15 years and recycling that into composted products. Basically, liquid organic waste is generated from anybody that has an interaction with food. Restaurants, food courts, food processors, manufacturers, etc. Basically, have you ever given any thought to all the liquid waste that goes down the drain, where it actually goes? Well, there we go. It should go into something like this. This is actually called an interceptor pit. Sorry, a bit short. The buoyant stuff at the top is the grease, the fats and the oils that separate from the system. This then allows us to collect that material, send it to a central depot, or potentially it goes straight to Peats. Basically, this material is waste. It's expended. Nobody wants it. It's unloved, except for people like us. Basically, excuse me, many years ago, this is what we saw. It makes a great compost product, but we always knew there was going to be something a little bit more in this mix. That was our story. Pop that down. So that started the next journey for us about 3 years ago, where there was an idea that we could do more with it. Ironically, we actually found the answer just down the road at Adelaide University. That also had a similar idea, and they'd actually come up with a theory to remove the oil and then to make a biodiesel. What we did to develop this idea was basically, quite simply to get it to this stage. Why do we want to develop it? Well, 3 really big reasons. 1, it's a recurring and sustainable feedstock supply. It's economically viable, and it's also environmentally better. Basically, with the recurring food activity, we always know that we're going to get feedstock. It's always going to continue, and it's going to continue to grow. Economically, we don't compete with food and food manufacturing businesses. We don't compete with tallow and other high-value feedstocks. That was the Achilles heel of many biodiesel plants in years gone by that's contributed to their failure. So we have a significant economic advantage. Basically, the other reason is the air, as obviously emissions, is a lot cleaner as well. Just note the nitrous oxides removed by another reason. If you look at our process in a full overview, basically we source our materials from a waste feedstock material. All of the waste generated in our process is either recycled back into the process or it's composted. And therefore, and also we don't actually produce any glycerin waste in our biodiesel process either. This means we effectively have a zero waste, 100% carbon neutral fuel supply. In Adelaide, we're miles ahead of the game. 2005, we actually mandated our public bus fleet to utilise biodiesel blends whenever they were feasibly possible available. That gives us an enormous opportunity for Pete's locally to supply this market. Oops. This has led us to where we are today. Basically, we're in the stage now of finishing our small-scale plant so we can actually deliver 1.2 million litres of biodiesel a year. With some further upgrades, this will get close to 2.5 million. To give you some perspective of our feedstock from a supermarket strip like this, which has got supermarket, bakery, maybe Nick's Fish Chip and Euroshop, we can get about 6,000 litres a year of biodiesel from this arrangement. That's enough to run 4 waste collection vehicles in Adelaide, City Council area, on biodiesel B20 blend for 6 months. So, from that, every single litre of biodiesel that's used in place of normal diesel saves 3 kilos of CO2 emissions. Looking at Adelaide as a whole, that's potentially a feedstock of 5 million litres of biodiesel a year, or 3,500 cars, or 15,000 tonnes of CO2 emissions saved each year. Our technology is compact, about the size of this room, keeps us close to everybody, and we can still produce conventional biodiesel from biodiesel fuel stocks. Thank you.
Sustain SA is leading a team of experts to deal with a significant problem in the built environment, that of heritage buildings. Our idea is to develop a low-carbon heritage building toolkit to deal with those challenges that exist in heritage buildings.
Our team can reduce greenhouse gas emissions in any heritage building by up to 60%.
Heritage buildings define the world's cities. Our toolkit makes them part of a low-carbon future.
We will showcase Australian know-how and smart technologies to co-create our toolkit.
Winning, it's not about us. It's about our toolkit making a global impact.
Well, thanks for that. It's always a bit hard to see you head up there in wide lights. So I'm going to talk about our low carbon heritage toolkit. Our toolkit enables owners of Adelaide's heritage C and D grade buildings to commit to actions leading towards the world's first carbon neutral city. Buildings represent 46% of the total emissions of the carbon footprint of Adelaide, or 404,000 tonnes. We can't eliminate them, but our toolkit can make a difference. 32% of the commercial buildings in Adelaide are C and D grade building stock, and there are 1,930 listed heritage places in Adelaide. Our system could reduce 8% of Adelaide's total carbon footprint, 17% of the building carbon footprint, saving 75,200 tonnes a year. Here's the evidence. Adelaide City Council upgraded the Town Hall, which resulted in 20% reduction in energy, 32% reduction in carbon, and $61,000 in savings since 2011-2012. This is a 150-year-old building showing the way towards a smart city. We want to take building owners and facility managers on a journey from inaction, saying no, to action, saying yes. From not having to search the myriad of documents in multiple systems to go to our one-stop shop, our Internet of Things, smart systems, thinking solutions. from having to put in the same data to multiple options to putting in one set of data that can be used across multiple platforms. Our toolkit enables the data to populate the opportunities and lead heritage C and D grade building owners towards action, to say yes. Go. With complexity of data needed in order to make decisions, our toolkit will provide the reports necessary from turning a no into a yes, outlining the return on investment, the implementation pathway, and the supplier of the products and the services. The toolkit takes the complexity out of the decision making and provides an elegant IoT platform solution which will save them time and money. In conversations, building owners have remarked that it's usually the upfront conversation and assessment cost that sometimes stops them from starting the journey. The system makes it easier for owners to go from idea to action. It will model scenarios of different products and services to maximise the return on investment, including the value of grants, finance systems and supplier and companies' databases to implement the upgrade. They can make a decision because we have taken away some of the pain of the upfront investigations. The IoT system solution makes it easier for owners to go from idea to action at the start of the decision-making process, moving them from a no to a yes. We'll achieve this through deep engagement with our end users and beneficiaries. We'll form new partnerships, such as with the National Trust, the Property Council, Smart City Lab, and the finance sector. Heritage buildings define the world's great cities. Our toolkit ensures 19th and 20th century buildings embrace a 21st century low carbon future, adding to the fine-grained grittiness and vibrancy of our city and continuing to take Adelaide towards one of the great livable cities of the world and carbon neutrality. Our approach will showcase to the rest of the world how Adelaide is cracking the problem. There are 3 times higher economic benefit to the economy in heritage building upgrades than new builds. The toolkit will drive innovation, research and development in new smart products like integrated solar roofs, generate jobs in the construction industry, lighting and renewable energy products and in carbon neutral products. In its first 3 years, our toolkit could save 3,000 tonnes per year, equivalent to taking 750 cars off the road permanently. Over time, we could reduce the overall building emissions by 17%, taking around about 18,800 cars off the road. We can avoid 1 million avoided costs in abatement, and we can avoid another 3,900 tonnes in embodied emissions if we adapt and retain our current building stock. Our toolkit can take interested building owners to carbon neutral accreditation for their buildings once the data is gathered through the system, inputted once. No one else is doing this. Leaving the planet's not an option. Our toolkit provides rapid acceleration to a carbon neutral city. We're going to unlock $20 to $40 million of export opportunity. We're going to create a pathway for carbon neutrality for cities around the world. Like space, getting there, the problem is big. If we get there, the opportunity is large. Together we can create the future and change the world. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Deb Noller, CEO of Switch Automation. Our company develops software for the Internet of Things. The City of Adelaide has a really ambitious goal. They want to be carbon neutral by the year 2020. So our idea is to build an IoT platform for the city, and this platform will monitor the carbon use of the city and message that back to all the various stakeholders. Our software will connect the sensors, the meters and the devices. We'll monitor those things and then we'll measure the improvements and provide different types of users with the messaging that's appropriate for them. For Adelaide to become carbon neutral, they're going to need to benchmark their current carbon emissions and then monitor their progress to make sure that they're tracking towards those goals. Adelaide will be the first city in the world to be carbon neutral, and as Australian entrepreneurs, we'd love nothing more than to be part of that project.
Buildings are broken. They use 40% of the world's energy, and here in Adelaide, 60% of carbon emissions is due to energy. So if we want to reduce the carbon impact in this city, we want to start with these buildings, and we want to start with them now. I'm Christy, this is Anne, and we're obviously not our amazing CEO, Deb, but we do share her passion for smart cities, and we know that buildings are broken. The first problem that we have is that data is spread across the city.
Look at the slide.
It's in different hardware systems held by third-party contractors and kept in spreadsheets. We need to bring this data together to make smart decisions on energy and cost savings. The second issue is that buildings in Adelaide were built for a different purpose at a different time. So there's a variety of systems and nothing is connected. The city has publicly displayed their ambitious goals, and the Turnbull government has announced a $50 million investment in smart cities. Which means to meet these targets, we have to make a change, and we have to make that change now. So how can Switch help? Firstly, we will pull in Adelaide's disconnected data into the Switch platform. This will take just a couple of days. Secondly, we will roll out analytics and alerts to find out where there is excessive energy usage in these buildings and find out who is responsible. And finally, we will provide control through the cloud. As an example, you can turn on the floating lights in the Rundle Mall through a browser while sitting here in this room. In essence, Switch will fundamentally change the way Adelaide manages their buildings by saving time, saving money, and saving energy.
So let's talk about impact here for Adelaide. Now, we know that buildings use a lot of energy, but you have to remember that the people inside of those buildings, they're consuming water, they're creating waste. We have service providers who have to physically hop in their trucks, roll on down to the buildings, try to fix problems, but frankly, most of the time they're kind of flying blind here, so it takes more than one trip to actually solve the problem. So we're wasting a lot more fuel, emitting a bunch more carbon emissions. And by the time you factor in employee flight miles or indoor air quality or even the solar panels that you guys use here in Adelaide, we really see that buildings touch nearly every aspect of the environment. And so that's why you have to have a holistic IoT approach to really address each of these environmental impactors, as we might call it. But the second piece of this is the economy. So there's two sides to this story. The first is that this is a perfect opportunity to really partner with the local universities here, your TAFEs, your engineering firms, and the people that already manage buildings to really teach some new skill sets in data science, for example. The other piece to the story is that our platform, our team, and our partners, we're already experts at using the technology to optimize buildings, but the software was actually built to scale across markets, right? So we could easily go partner with maybe the Department of Transportation, head out to the streets and connect all the traffic lights, really take a data-based approach to how we plan infrastructure. Then say we master the CBD, might take a little bit of time, but say we do that, and maybe we want to expand out into the regional areas of Adelaide. We could head out to the Barossa, implement the irrigation systems, and take an agri-tech approach to how we water the vines. But if any of this is going to be successful, we really know that the people who live here have to be invested in the project. And more than that, you have to actually enjoy the effects of a program like this. I mean, you're the ones that work here. We can help make sure that you're actually comfortable in your office, more productive, by just mapping the air conditioning set points to how many people are in the room. You live here. We can help make sure that your elevators in your apartment buildings work by just proactively managing them versus waiting till they're already broken, having to send a technician out, and already then, frankly, a pain in the butt. And we know that you play here. I mean, we can help keep the parks green without wasting resources by mapping the watering schedules to this crazy Adelaide weather of yours. So we already do this. We do all of this for nearly 8,000 buildings around the world. So we're absolutely a proven, in-market Australian technology for the enterprise. But we're just so excited to be here today to help a city take this type of unique approach to building management and sustainability.
I'm very pleased to announce that our judges have made their decision. But before we announce that, we have a message for all the finalists from one of our advisory panel members, Tim Jarvis.
This is Tim Jarvis with a big congratulations to all the finalists of the Adelaide to Zero Carbon Challenge. I have been working in trying to raise awareness of the biggest issue facing us, climate change, for many years. And in fact, as I record this message, I'm about to head off to climb those mountains at the equator that still have a remnant glacier to highlight climate change for the Marrakesh COP22 in November. To solve climate change, or at least to give ourselves a chance of restricting change to 2 degrees Celsius, or better still 1.5 degrees Celsius, will require structural change, political will, technology, changes to things like farming, energy efficiency, and of course renewables. And I really commend Adelaide for taking the lead in initiatives related to climate change. Adelaide is one of the most climate exposed cities in the world, in the driest state, in the driest inhabited continent of the world, but has a long history of being innovative and really stepping up to the plate to lead the way in areas such as ideas and technology and education. And so it's very fitting that Adelaide should again be setting the benchmark in really making a difference with an issue like climate change. Adelaide's bid for carbon neutrality is something to really be extremely proud of, and the Adelaide to Zero Carbon Challenge program again is something to be extremely proud of, and you as finalists should yourselves be rightly proud to be part. I would just like to say a heartfelt thanks from me and a congratulations to all for being part of this wonderful program, and I wish you all well with it. Best of luck.
I'd now like to welcome to the stage the Premier of South Australia, Jay Weatherill.
Well, thank you very much, and ladies and gentlemen, especially those that have travelled from interstate and overseas to be part of our Open State Conference, welcome here. To the finalists of the Low Carbon Entrepreneur Prize, welcome. And members of the prize's judging and advisory panels, thank you also for being here. I also want to acknowledge Mr. Steve Baxter, who started his first business here in Adelaide, who's tonight's keynote speaker at Pitchfest. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we gather today on the traditional lands of the Kaurna people, and we welcome and acknowledge their relationship with our country. And as you've heard, today is about the announcement of the Low Carbon Entrepreneur Prize. But before I do that, I want to introduce to you another important person, my shadow today, Josephine Seraphine. She's 12 years old. She's a student at Swallowcliff Primary School in Davern Park. And Josephine's here because we have this job shadowing arrangement as part of her Children's University element of Open State. She's one of 150 children aged between 7 and 14 from Adelaide's northern suburbs, taking part in activities that will eventually see them graduate from the Children's University. And it's great that she's been hanging out today with me and with, and there's a number of other young people from her school that are doing the same thing. And she's a particularly important young leader. Being a school captain, has done a lot of important charity work for RSPCA and Cancer Council, and has set a fine leadership example, not only to her school but to the rest of our state. So thank you very much, Josephine. Well, the Low Carbon Entrepreneur Prize is something which is directed at this ambitious goal, which is to create Adelaide as the world's first carbon neutral city. Now, the truth is the nation, and indeed the world, is going to have to be carbon neutral if we're to reach that ambition of keeping global warming beyond or beneath at least the 2 degrees that was mentioned before by Mr. Jarvis. And we wanted to do something which not only set ourselves a goal, but also created the impetus towards achieving it. It means thinking about new things in new ways, and that's why we adopted this notion of a prize, a challenge, to unlock the thinking that was going to solve that most difficult question. We launched the prize in March at Pittsburgh Carnegie Mellon University, an institution renowned for innovation and technology. And we decided to do the launch there rather than here in Adelaide because I wanted to emphasise that the prize and the wider Adelaide to Zero Carbon Challenge was designed to engage not only South Australians but indeed the world. I mean, this is a global challenge. It needs a global solution, and we have to scale the world for the best ideas to achieve it. We wanted to bring together people and ideas from right across not only the country but across the world, and that is exactly what has happened. In fact, we were overwhelmed with responses. We received 150 entries, not just from locals but from interstate, but also US, South Africa, Greece, UK, Kenya, Taiwan, Malaysia, Colombia and France. Just as importantly from my point of view, this initiative also served to highlight South Australia's leadership in climate change policy and showcase the important things that we're doing in renewable energy. And you've seen from just the last couple of weeks, this is a highly contested space. Our push into renewable energy is being resisted by powerful forces around the nation, and this is not a debate which is by any means over. But news of the prize has spread quickly around the globe, appearing on more than 1.2 million times on Twitter and gaining loads of coverage in the mainstream media. Out of all these entries, an independent assessment panel came up with 10 finalists, and an 11th wildcard was chosen through a public voting process. As we saw during Demo Day on Tuesday and earlier this afternoon, during the final pitches, the quality of the entries now in the running for the prize is outstanding. They've addressed, in a new and practical way, the fields of transport and energy. They've come up with ideas and solutions that are tailored to not only the needs of Adelaide, but the particular challenges we face as a city. Whichever entry or entries come out on top and receive a total of $150,000 will be earned the money and plaudits coming their way. All of the finalists will certainly benefit from the $10,000 they've each received as seed funding for their entries. Overall, the Low Carbon Entrepreneur Prize has achieved the very things that we've set out for it. It has unlocked new ideas to solve this most important challenge. It's helped us pursue an ambitious but achievable goal that the Lord Mayor and I set together to make Adelaide the world's first carbon neutral city. And most importantly, it's about translating those goals into action. It is attracting attention from potential investors and creating business opportunities. It's generating measures that in the long run improve the lives of Adelaideans and further enhance the livability of our city. And it's unearthing the kind of thinking and innovations that traditional forms of government procurement certainly cannot do. I want South Australia to be known as a test bed of ideas and innovation, a place that comes up with solutions and shares them. And so in a real sense, this is not just a policy contribution in the renewable energy space. It's also about doing government differently. It's about reforming our democracy to challenge our community with the big issues and find collaborative ways of coming up with solutions. So this prize, plus the other things happening this week, are a part of this notion of open state. It's helping us move towards that global status of being a place which involves people in the decisions that affect their lives, renovates our democracy so that we can actually overcome the challenges that face us. And when you consider this challenge, it couldn't be more important. We're talking about the future of the planet. But it also has defied the political process. I mean, this is a debate, the climate change debate, that's brought down 3 prime ministers. And it may actually bring down a 4th leader for the 2nd time on the opposite side of the debate. This is how potent this debate is. So you had Malcolm Turnbull, Mark 1, cleaned up. Kevin Rudd, the first time, cleaned up. Julia Gillard, arguably, substantially damaged by this debate. And it looks like Malcolm Turnbull is going to be damaged, but this time on the opposite side of the debate. Extraordinary to see a democracy paralysed by such an important issue because it simply cannot deal with these complex questions in a way which comes up with solutions. So this isn't just about dealing with this most important issue. It's actually a challenge for our democracy about how we deal with a complex question. And there can't be a more complex political question than asking this generation to bear the burden of all of the sins of the past on behalf of all of the generations in the future. That's a massive thing to ask a constituency to do. That's why it's so hard, because it defies that political equation. It just doesn't add up in those simple, ordinary political terms. That's why the democracy has to adjust to actually find a solution to this complex issue. That's what Open State is about. So today we are proud in South Australia of the leadership role we're taking. About 43% on last count of our South Australia's energy generation comes from renewables. About 35% of the country's installed wind farm capacity, and the balance from solar power. And between 1990 and 2014, we reduced our carbon emissions by 8%, yet increased the size of our economy by 60%. So we have uncoupled economic growth from carbon pollution. And this is an important achievement, and it demonstrates it is possible to do. These are all great achievements and milestones, but as we know, the challenges ahead of us are enormous. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the challenge, and today we're going to hear something of the solutions. It's now my privilege to announce today's winner. Earning the title of highly commended are two organisations. They are Peat Soil and Garden Supplies from South Australia and D Squared from South Australia. Just stay there. Coming here at second place and receiving $50,000 is EcoCaddy of South Australia. And ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the South Australia's first Low Carbon Entrepreneur Prize, receiving $100,000, is Enercon of Victoria. Well, ladies and gentlemen, these set of winners have not only achieved something for themselves and their businesses and enterprises, which is itself an extraordinary victory for them and for the way in which their businesses will create jobs and opportunities. But they've also made a massive contribution not only to South Australia and the nation, but also the world. So thank you very much to each of them for their wonderful work. Thank you.